Are you hunting for a third-person shooter with co-op mechanics, an intriguing world and story to explore, all with a Souls-like difficulty curve? Then allow me to introduce you to Remnant From the Ashes. When hunting for a new game, there's always lots to consider. Is the gameplay clean? Is the story decent? Can I blow up my friends over and over? You know, all the most important questions. So let's talk about the story first. I don't want to spoil too much, so here's what I will say. If you're into dark fantasy, mystery-type stories that feel like something out of a post-apocalyptic Stranger Things, then you'll probably like to try and sift through all the lore of Remnant. Read everything you find, since a huge amount of the story is buried in journals, and these actually have moments when they tell you some clever tips to reward players who want to know more about the world and like to explore. Love it. Well done, developers. More of that, please. It can take you around 12 to 15 hours to beat the main campaign if you focus exclusively on the story. If you're like me and enjoy exploring and completing all the side content and can't help wandering into a dungeon that you found, then there's probably 50 to 60 hours of playtime ahead of you. And that's not including the DLC. That's all assuming you don't plan to restart your main campaign and play through it again for a totally new experience. We'll get into that more later. If you know what Souls-like games tend to do, then you've got a pretty good idea of what to expect from Remnant. Basically, if at any point you feel like you can't progress or start dying over and over, instead of it being simply about upgrading and finding better stuff, the answer is usually just be better. Yes, you can power level and upgrade your gear to overwhelm your enemies, but you can always beat the game with skill alone. What this means is that I can always improve, be it by upgrading or game experience, and I haven't really gotten stuck before. Instead, have you ever experienced that sensation when playing a game, usually some sort of shooter, where it feels like everything starts to work? Your enemies are dropping rapidly, your aim is on point, and even when something gets past and gets close, you handle it flawlessly. And then to top it off, the game is a punishing Souls-like? Oh man, that's a great feeling. Here's an example of how I've found this game to both punish and reward within a very short time span. The Shroud is a boss you can find on Earth, and at first glance it's nothing special. But when you're getting hit constantly from all directions by numerous adds and AoE damage from the boss in the other room, because it can, I guess, that doesn't feel great. But my second attempt, forget trying to clear all the mobs, give me your head. A few clicks later and the boss is done in seconds. That moment of going from, wow, I suck, to, wow, I nailed that, doesn't feel very commonplace in most games I've played recently. And that's not to say every moment of Remnant is like that, but there's something to be said for games that seem to encourage you to be and feel spectacularly, yet they do not suffer fools. Remnant, at least on normal difficulty, is probably one of my preferred types of gameplay challenges. Games like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, any of the FromSoft titans really, in a word, are designed to reward determination, perseverance, and learning how to be skilled against each new enemy by dying over and over. In contrast, perhaps because it's a shooter, Remnant rewards your skill immediately. Is that a hot take? I feel like that's a hot take. Feel free to let me know. I'm going to talk about a caveat to the gameplay, even though I already mentioned it. AoE attacks. Through walls. Without line of sight. With enormous range. This combo feels a bit convenient for upping the difficulty in a rare case that doesn't feel great. Hurrah, I can dodge this attack. Oh, there's 20 more, and the target is out of sight while spawning minions behind me? Oh, this one isn't even a boss and it does that? Doesn't feel great. Okay, whining over, I wanted to quickly take a look at how this game handles difficulty, because it does have an impact on your gameplay. Functionally, Remnant's difficulty scaling is designed to give you a fresh experience every time you start another playthrough. I'll tell you more about this in my next video if you're curious about the details, which leads us to what is arguably one of my favorite things about this game: random seed generation. That's right, not dissimilar to how every new Minecraft world is randomized, Remnant has a system in place that allows you to freely restart every game mode, creating a brand new world in the process. The maps, enemies, loot, dungeons, bosses, yeah, everything gets randomized every single time you start a new game or reset it. And guess what? This applies to the difficulty scaling we just talked about. The game is designed to have superb replay value. I bet the speedrunning community just loves that mechanic. See, I'm one of those weird people who tends to rate games based off the number of hours I play compared to the dollars it costs me, which in most aspects is a terrible metric. Don't use it. A fun and challenging third-person shooter that's different every time I play? Yep, that grabs my attention. So what do we have with Remnant from the Ashes? We've got a decent story set in a fascinating universe, challenging but rewarding third-person gameplay with co-op available to play with friends, and one of the greatest multi-layer systems for replay value that I've ever seen, particularly in a Souls-like. If that sounds like your type of game, you might want to check it out before Remnant 2 comes out on July 25th. But hey, if you want to learn more, or just enjoy my content, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you around as I stumble my way through all sorts of games, including these. I'm your Benefactor, and I pray you have a wonderful day.